So Joe doesn't even know we're live right now, but we are live. And I want to thank all of you guys for tuning in. I get an opportunity to sit down with one of my buddies today. He's an ex-NFL player, but more importantly, one of the baddest dads in the world. And he's wearing a shirt that made me feel bad because he has a best dad shirt on, and I thought I was that. So he helped me to realize that I'm number 2 and I can never be number 1. If you've watched him on Instagram or anything like that, you're going to feel bad about yourself too, because this is the most fit dude and the strongest guy that you could ever meet, but also too the grit, the determination. We talked about it before, and I'm probably going to get it off because it's been a little bit of time since we talked about this, but I believe it was about 10 years old that he was actually getting his backpack filled with some special stuff and riding his BMX bike across town, and he had no idea what he was doing, but he was doing stuff that probably could have got him residence in some places that he might not have wanted, but it would have been free for a long time. But to see his growth, to see who he is, and not only the grit, determination, but also to go through, against all odds, make it to the NFL, and then when the NFL thing didn't work the way that he wanted it to, it wasn't the end for him. It was just the beginning. And it started him off on his entrepreneurial journey. And he is here today. I believe we were trying to figure it out. I think it was about episode 10, 15, somewhere around there. And we are on episode 509. So it's been that long since we got to be able to connect. It is my honor, my pleasure to bring to you, I think, one of the grittiest dudes that you'll ever meet in your entire life, one of the baddest men, and the guy who will make you feel bad about your morning routine, Mr. Joe Shumpert. So let's get this party started.
Nothing more on my mind. I got 2 shines, so every day I grind. Work in the morning, work in the evening. We's achieving, cause we believing. It's for certain, we put the work in. We ain't stopped just because it's hurting. Right before your eyes, so it's coming to no surprise. The takeover is televised. Over and over and over again. Make no mistake, we continue to win. Defeat never known, cause I will not lose. They wanna mimic my moves, but can't walk in my shoes.
And we're live. We're live. I might be a little blurry. He's Joe is in focus all the time, and so we were looking at it. It was July 2020.
July 2020.
What month are we now?
September. Mid-September.
Mid-September, almost end of September. I've been waiting on this.
2024.
2024. Was it 10 years old you were riding the bike?
It's about 10 years old.
About 10 years old.
9, 10.
Okay, you were getting your backpack packed. It was Lunchables. Was it Lunchables that you were getting it packed with?
Not for me.
What was it?
It was dope.
Okay.
Yeah, dope. And carrying it from one place to another from my dad and my dad's friends.
Okay. Did you know at the time?
I knew it was something that I wasn't supposed to have because I couldn't look in it, right? They told me not to look in it.
Did you drop off and then pick up?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So both times I was told to get there and back. I had 30 minutes, remember, to get there and back.
Yes.
So I'm like GT Performer.
Were you sweating, GT Performer?
Remember.
I think that there should be some sort of sponsorship, right? Because GT Performer, that was a gangster bike right there.
It was a great bike.
My buddy Will and I were talking about dyno, and dyno.
I like that too.
We both had dynos.
Yeah.
I had a dyno. I got it on layaway. Did you get the GT Performer on layaway?
Negative.
No?
Negative. They bought it for me.
Oh.
They actually took me to this place called Paul's Bike Shop.
Okay.
In El Monte.
Uh-huh.
And that's where I got the bike. And I just remember they said, pick any bike you want.
Because they knew they were going to be packing them Lunchables for somebody else.
Exactly.
Okay, so this is 9, 10 years old. You're doing this stuff. But you can't look in. Did you ever look?
No.
No, you just took it.
No.
Picked up.
Yeah.
So you take the Lunchables.
Take the Lunchables, deliver them.
Deliver.
Pick up what they gave me because I had to wait outside, So
Okay.
I waited outside. I went in, gave the backpack to them, and they gave me the backpack and told me to take it back.
And so they filled the backpack. You just gave them the backpack, and then they filled it back. You just took it back, and you were good.
Yeah.
So This was incredible because I was just talking with my buddy James Dixon. Big shout out to him. One of the number one, I would say the number one motivational speaker in the world.
Yeah.
This guy is unbelievable. You have to meet him. I was just telling him about your determination and grit because most of the time when someone has an upbringing that way, they go on the negative side. They're like, oh man, the world's against me, all these things. But you seem to turn it like almost like introspective and then put it into your performance. Let's start with high school.
Yeah. So again, I did have that kind of a mindset at first, right? Where the world was like crapping on me, right? And I felt like the world was against me and why my mom had to go and why my dad was in prison and, you know, why was I born poor and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
I did have that kind of a mindset at first and understanding that I was the one that was in control of that.
When did you understand that though? That's a big understanding. Were you angry? Were you angry?
Absolutely.
Okay, so you're angry. How long were you angry until it switched around? Because sometimes, I mean, God has a tendency to smack me in my head.
Yeah.
Like he smacks me upside the head. He gives me some circumstance.
Yeah.
I don't pray for patience anymore.
It hurts.
I don't know if I ever told you this. I don't pray for patience because he gives me the opportunity to exercise patience.
Yeah.
That's never a good thing.
No.
I don't want that.
Because you have to step back, right? You have to take a step back and realize what are you getting into,
Yeah.
right? And that's like for me, that was my biggest thing, right? Is understanding that I say this a lot, right? It's like I don't pray for a lighter load, I pray for a stronger back, right? So it's like I have to constantly do that because sometimes I do revert back to my old mindset, right? Where it's like, oh, why is this happening? They just don't want me to make it, like, you know. With business, it happens, right? And then understanding that, like, at 15, when I emancipated, I had to become my own adult. So it was either I can become my own adult, which matured me way faster, right? Going through YA, doing those things, it matured me a lot faster because I had a chance to look at things from a broader point of view.
Was the YA a choice for you?
Negative.
No?
It was from the Lunchables.
Okay. That's what we're going to call it from now on. And as far as parents out there, beware of the Lunchables.
Yeah,
Don't be giving your kid Lunchables.
No,
don't get them around Lunchables. So it went from the backpack part until like at 15 years old, you're probably providing some Lunchables of your own.
Yeah.
Yeah?
So like, it was at like 12.
Okay.
I started doing that part, right, where the delivering them wasn't good enough.
Okay.
And we touched on this a little bit.
Was it because you weren't making enough money?
No, it's because I was greedy, right? And
Okay.
and you want the life that you see the people who are giving them to you have, right?
Yeah.
It's like they come in with the lowriders and the lowrider bikes, and you know that's
You
where
just
I
had the
was from.
GT Performer. You had to
Yeah.
step it up.
Yeah,
had to
and
step
it's
it
like
up.
that wasn't appealing to me.
Okay.
You know, and
What was the first car that you saw that you were like, that's it? Like, I got to have that.
a Regal?
A Regal.
It was like an '89 Regal.
Did it have spokes?
It had everything.
Did it have-
13-inch Daytons.
Hydros?
Yeah, candy apple red. It was
Yes.
nice.
Isn't it amazing that if you had that car now, your lady wouldn't ride in it with you?
Negative. She would not.
She would not.
No.
And we probably wouldn't ride in it either. No. We would be like, and your son would be like, Dad, what are you doing?
She'd be like,
But at the time, I remember having a 71 Corolla station wagon, and I wanted 50 series tires on it.
Yeah.
I wanted big spokes sticking off the side, and I'm so glad that God didn't bless me at that time.
I wouldn't have been able to handle it.
Yeah, I mean, and I wouldn't have wanted to handle it because that car would have looked idiotic. You know,
It's like the stuff that we see now and the stuff that we do.
Yeah.
Now it's like, ooh, you know.
Yeah.
You know, and I tell like my son this all the time. It's funny because I go, I forgive I say sorry to all the people I called old at 40, right? It's like, ooh.
And when you talk about 50, it was ancient.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And now I think about, how old are you now?
Yeah, 39.
Man, are you 39?
39.
Dude, you are young. I could be your dad.
Yeah.
I could be your dad. My family's from Utah, so
Yeah.
I mean, I would be an old dad. You know, no, it's amazing there. You know, to see what you've been able to do in that short amount of time.
Yeah.
So let's fast forward. Like you know, you went through high school, you got your focus on everything like that. Everyone's dream is to go to the league in whatever they're playing.
Yeah.
But 99.9% of the people that are saying like
Do not.
I'm going are not. What's the difference?
the extra. I
What's
think
the
it's the
extra?
extra you do, and your attitude, and trying to put yourself in the right position.
Yeah.
And again, it's like it's what are you gonna do to put yourself above somebody else, right?
Okay.
And are you there for yourself, or are you there for like the show? And and that hurt me a lot too, because I was there to make money, to change my life, but it kept dropping me in these positions to
Yeah.
where I wasn't able to stay on rosters and things like that, right? Because I wasn't there to entertain. I
Yeah.
was there to make sure I wasn't poor.
Yeah.
And that was like my only like thought process through the whole thing was I don't want to be poor. And, and I think we talked about that a little bit. It's like my only fear was being poor.
Yeah.
So it's like I wanted to make sure I stepped away from all those things that kept me in that circle.
When did you get over that part? Because I had a guy on a plane one time say to me, he was like, "What do you fear?" And I was like, "Nothing."
Yeah.
I tried to act like I was bad man. I ain't a bad man, but I got big friends like you, so I could be a bad man. But he was like, "What do you fear?" I said, "Nothing." He said, "Why you do what you do?" And I said, "Because I used to live in a 1-bedroom apartment with 5 people. I ain't never going back." Yeah. And I started to get into it, and he looked at me and he was like, Fear. And I was like, and he said, if you're led by that, you'll never get what you truly want. When was the breaking point for you where it stopped being about fear and started locking in? Because you're one of the most focused individuals that I know.
Yeah.
Where you started locking in, this is what I actually want, not what I don't want. I'm not going to keep running.
Yeah.
But you seem to stop running. When did that happen?
I think it's when I started being a servant to people, and I stopped being about the man in the mirror.
Really?
But understanding that the man in the mirror is who I'm being a servant to people for.
Okay.
Right? Is the, what do they say? Like, that's my most selfish act.
Was it a big epiphany? Was it like a,
Absolutely.
Yeah. When was it? Did you hit rock bottom? Did you?
A couple times.
Okay.
It's like when my last turn of football, right? When I made that decision to not go and try out again.
Yeah.
And come home, and what am I going to do now? What am I going to do with Joe?
Yeah.
Right? Am I going to be a trainer? Am I going to, what am I going to do with my life?
Mm-hmm.
Then it's like, you got to help people grow. Because I knew that everybody goes, you're friends with everybody, right? You talk to everybody. You could talk to anybody. How do I use that?
Yeah.
To focus on, becoming more successful with me.
When you went to the league, what were some of the shockers for you? Because you have, as a kid, even my son is 13 years old, and he's like, "Dad," I'm like, "What do you want to do when you grow up?" He's like, "Only one thing. I'm going to the league, Dad." And I'm like, "Yeah, but let's talk about other stuff." He's like, "I ain't talking about anything else. I'm going to get you a chain. I'm going to get me a chain.
Yeah.
I'm going to get," no, he said, "I'm going to get you a chain. I'll get me a chain. I'll get Mom a chain." And then he just paused. And I was like, wait a second. And he showed me the chains.
Yeah.
Like, his chain was huge.
Yeah.
Mom's chain was gangster.
Yeah.
Dad's chain was small, man. Yeah. But when I was talking with him, obviously I want to help him with it, stuff like that. What was some of the reality checks that you had, and some of the parts that you were like, man, this was the greatest part of this experience?
Well, it's the understanding why you're there.
Okay.
Right. And me and you always talk about this part, right? Where you understand what the NFL means.
Oh,
right?
yeah. Tell him, hit him with it.
They're not for long.
Yes.
Right. And you go, I'm only here for a short time, so let's make it a good time.
Yeah.
Right. And understanding that process.
Give us an era time to help the listeners understand, era wise, who was in the league at the time? Who were the people that were like, "Oh, wow, this is incredible," and then you're around them at this point because you become a part of a fraternity.
Maurice Jones-Drew, right?
Yes.
Mercedes Lewis. Big Tom, Kevin Thomas, right? It's like all these guys that you're around. Reed. It's like you look up to these guys.
Yeah.
Jimmy Smith, right, and Steve Smith.
Uh-huh.
Dante Hall, right? Because we have the same kind of statures, right? So it's like now he's a little bit overweight, I'm just saying. But
Well, if you watch your video, honestly, like I watch you, man, I have to sometimes turn it off, man, because I'm like, how is he doing dips with a chain on him? And how are you, these exercises, and you make the exercises look really, really easy.
Yeah.
Like simple. And I'm like, damn, all I have to do is one hand on a ball and do push-ups like that. And
but
you should see me
here's
in
the thing,
backyard.
right? And we talked about like how growing up affected me now, right?
Yeah.
Is like my dad, he said that that's one thing that nobody could ever take away from me is my mental health, my physical health, right? And if you stay on top of that, you never have to get back in shape.
Wow. So let's hit that though, because in today's society, me and my wife were talking about this, and we were talking mental health, and people were like, I gotta, my mental health, all the things. But what you just said is so profound. Mm-hmm. If you keep the mental health, you'll never have to chase it, or you can't lose it. How can a person foster and protect their mental health?
Understand that life is full of unbalances, right? You're never balanced. There's never a balanced life, right? Somebody, something, some way, somehow is going to feel like they're not a priority when you're trying to get focused, right? And your life is always unbalanced. And being comfortable with that makes you balanced.
How does that work with, say, like your son? I mean, your son is 7 now. I remember we were just talking before we started recording, and I remember the little bit of stress time. Yeah. There was some stress time as far as like, is it going to happen? And, our ladies, we have great ladies in our lives, and our ladies have the tendency not to stress as much. They'll have the tendency to just be like, hey, everything's going to be cool. And then we're like, I got to make it happen. And then God just brings it. Yeah. And then he almost, I don't know if he does this with you, but he always is like, so are you done wasting your time worrying when you get done? But you have a little man. Mm-hmm. You're a husband. Mm-hmm. You're an incredible entrepreneur. Mm-hmm. When you say there's no balance, how do you know when to focus on what and for how long?
Well, I think being present helps you do that, right? It just, when I'm with one, I'm not with the other, and I'm very focused. I'm very present. And I think that keeps me balanced.
How do you communicate that to your lady? Because, you want to make sure that she feels like the queen, that she feels, but if you're working and that's your sole focus and how do you communicate that? Do you have to communicate it beforehand?
Well, yeah, but also it's like when you're with her, nothing else matters, right? It's like my 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes. She's my 45 minutes if I'm with her for 45 minutes.
Wow.
Right?
Do you keep score?
If I'm with...
Do you write it down and be like, yo...
I should.
You should. Because I think this would be a good method. So this will be the course that you and I will do together, where we'll be like, write down every minute that you undivided attentioned your lady, and then just throw it on her. Like at the end of the week, be like, look, lady.
And she'll have a couch waiting for me.
Yeah. Well, couch? What do you mean?
Outside.
Oh. I hope she's listening right now, because if she gets technique like this, she'll know this is a part of the research and development we're doing for our course. You know what I mean?
I'm very, very, hesitant about what I say, how I say it to her, when I say it to her, But you again, with that, right, you learn who your partners are. Yeah. And what a great partner is, and how to focus on. It's like when I see her be a mom, I fall in love with her again, right? Over and over and over again, right? It's like I understand that side of her. Yeah. And then with Scott, it's like he knows, like when I'm with him, nothing else matters, right? It's like, that's my guy. Yeah. And he's like my broke best friend, right? It's like he's literally, I'll give him anything, anytime, it's like.
Help me with this, Joe, because this has been something that has shifted in the college. I want to talk about college for a second, because a thing that has shifted is the NIL stuff. Okay. What is your take on it? And because I talked to Lee Steinberg about this, and I was talking to him, and he said, I don't think that they prepared enough for what was coming. No. What's your take on it?
I have two, two ways of looking at it,
Okay,
right?
got it.
My first one, I'm very jealous. Like,
I love that you're honest, right? Because it's like, I mean, can you imagine when you were in college to hit? I mean, the kids are getting $1 million deals, but even if you got a couple 100,000,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
I'm cool.
Hey, I'm getting a GT Performer. I am not putting Lunchables in the backpack,
No.
but I'm getting a GT Performer and getting the rims, everything.
Well, the thing is that like now, a lot of kids don't even know why to go to the league, right?
Ooh.
If you can set up your family, set up your life, and not have to deal with that, right?
Yeah.
After. So that's one of the problems that they're having.
Okay.
Is having to figure out, why should I even do that when I can play here for 4 years, make $2 million, $3 million, and my life changes, which is what I want to do anyways.
Yeah.
And not have to deal with like the league after.
Do you think it'll deteriorate the level of play? I mean, we're not seeing it right away, but do you think it'll deteriorate the level of play because the NIL is just going to get bigger and bigger, and the more it's exposed, because college football makes billions of dollars, and the more and more the kids get paid, like you said, if I could not take the punishment, because you took punishment when you went to the league,
You really hit.
You take punishment.
We really hit.
Like crazy.
We really hit.
So help me with this, because I know you're going somewhere with this, because help me.
It's I just feel that now they protect their investments, right? Like we're investments.
Well, you were talking about a guy that was he was a hired murderer, which was Reed.
Yeah.
I mean, when I say murderer.
Right.
So,
I get it.
You know what I'm saying? Like, Ed, I apologize. Still come on the show. We're going to talk about the Titans when you come on the show, not the Ravens. But I'm saying, like, that was a murder. You didn't go across the middle on that.
Him, Leon Landry, right?
Yeah.
You don't. Those are guys. Brian Dawkins, right? BD. Like you don't. They're just things you don't do.
Yeah.
And those are the three guys you don't do.
So when you look at the NFL today, is just like the NIL. Is there a part of like...
Well, just look at the kickoff, right?
We could spend a whole show on the kickoff.
Yeah.
Tell me your feelings on the kickoff.
It's just...
It reminds me of foosball.
Where is football? Where to go? And it's like, if they're doing these NIL deals, this is my other part.
Got it.
They should have to sign a contract so they can't enter the portal, right? Because they're getting a contract. So if you're getting paid, get paid and stay where you're at.
What do you think it's going to do to college football with the portal, the more and more? Because it seems like now, if a kid, if a kid is maybe not playing or not happy, bam, they're going into the portal.
Right.
And then it's free agency in college football also.
Right. And again, it's like they shouldn't be allowed to do that.
What about the positive side of it? What about the positive side of it as far as like for a long time, if you could do great during the season, then you were meeting Alabama in the championship, and Alabama had every single NFL player, and it was a little bit more lopsided. People talked about the Pac-10, which, I mean, we were West Coast guys.
Yeah.
We love us some Pac-10. But, I mean, I ain't choosing them in a fight with the SEC.
Well,
now... maybe.
Again, right? It's like that's who it always was, though, right? When it came down to the national title. USC and Texas.
Yeah.
USC, Miami, So it's like we've always been there and contended, Our West Coast players have always stood up to Texas, Florida.
Yeah.
We used to play the Cal Florida Bowl, right? When I was in high school, we played the Cal Florida Bowl where we played best guys in Texas. That's where I met Travis Henry, right? It's like those type of things that's what we do. So it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But it's like the turnabout of what an athlete can get now, just in recovery alone for their body, the NIL helps that.
How'd you recover?
Ice. Like,
you mean you didn't have cryotherapy and red light therapy?
Leg compression sleeves, and we had ice. We sat in ice tubs.
Yeah.
And, we did electrical shock therapy, right? When you hurt something or you strain your calf.
Okay.
You got a massage that you didn't like. And it's like sports massage hurts.
So now how do you view it as far as like your little man at 7 years old? He's going to be a beast. He's already coming with you in the gym. I see that. He's going to be incredible. What's your counsel to him? He wants to go to the league. He wants to
Keep the helmet off. I don't want him to put a helmet on.
Ooh. Until
he's old enough to build his neck up and understand what his neck is for, his back, his shoulders, his, because that's where you hit, right? Your trunk.
Yeah.
But if he can play golf, baseball, pickleball, want him to do that stuff.
Really?
Stay off. Yeah.
What about your friends? Because again, it's a fraternity, right? Mm-hmm. So once you become friends inside circles, what are your friends that played at that time where it was? I mean, literally, you come across the middle, you get killed. What is their take on it now? The after effects on their body, things like that. What is that?
Well, they're all hurt, right? A lot of them limp. We had the concussion clause, right?
What was that?
Where it's like we all got this class action lawsuit for doing what we signed up to do. Thank you for the money, right? But we all signed up for that. So I again, it's like you're going to get hit.
Yeah.
But again, it's like I also see like I feel pain, right? When I wake up, my knees hurt, and I didn't even play that long. So if people are playing 12, 13 years, it's a whole different, whole different deal with their body.
How could the NIL be? How could you solve some of those challenges?
But I think that's what they're doing now, right? Is like because a lot of the recovery that a lot of the guys are dealing with.
Is that me? Joe is that important?
It's not me.
That's me. How is that even happening, Joe? I thought Joe was so important he was taking calls during the podcast.
No,
what it was.
No,
that was mine.
Again, I'm very present.
Exactly. I guess I'm not. That's what it was. I looked down. I was like, man.
But I think that's how the NIL is helping now, right? Okay. It's like being able to get kids sponsored by these recovery deals and things like that, where they're able to use the cryotherapy, the hot tubs, the ice baths, the compression sleeves, the hyperbaric chambers, all these things that they're now able to sponsor. And now they're giving them to schools because their kids sponsor them.
Well, and if that happened before, when you were in college, you would have got kicked out of college.
Exactly.
Because it would have been illegal for that to happen.
Well, so here's a thing. So like when they were filming, remember we talked about the Gridiron Gang with The Rock? When they were filming that, they asked if I wanted to do that, right? And I was graduating from high school. But I couldn't do that movie because I would have been getting paid to play football. And I would have had to forfeit my scholarship. So that's what I mean. It's like the difference.
That's that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But also, too, I think that your positive outlook on life, like when you came out, like let's go into the entrepreneurial space. What principles did you take from the league and then bring into, and that gave you an unfair advantage in business?
Well, just detail, discipline, right? And understanding what that meant to me as a business owner and how to run my business, right? I need a head coach.
Yeah.
But I also need an offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, coordinator assistant, a GM, right? So it's like, and then you need players, then you need practice players, right? That do the grunt work because you need those guys and you need to appreciate those guys, right? So you need to pay them well, but you need to they need to know that everybody has a role and what role do they play? Because without them, we don't have a team.
But how do you communicate that in a business where, obviously with you being the head, you being kind of the star, sometimes when you have people in the organization, they start looking at the star and saying like, and this happens on a team too, Why does that guy, let's take Dak for instance,
Mm-hmm.
just gets paid guaranteed $200 million, drops 2 games and lays 2 eggs? I love to talk about this because I don't like the Cowboys at all.
Yeah.
And I think the Titans are the greatest of all time. Even though they're 0-3, we're going to go 14. We're going to go 14-3 this year. I want to call the shot right now. But like when you have a person, let's call it a Dak for all my Cowboys fans, he gets paid, and you're like, man. And then how do you keep dissension from happening inside of a company?
So for me, it's knowing that I do everything I'm telling you to do. Right. And I can do it without you, but I can show you that I want you to do it with me. And I think that's what changes how I ran a company from other people, right? It's like, I'm going to get down. I'll outdig you. I'll connect you, right? It's like doing plumbing. It's like, anything you want to do, we can crawl under a house together, because I still do that today, right?
Yeah.
I still crawl under houses, still crawl in attics. I'll still like put a water heater in. Like, it doesn't matter what it is, right? So it doesn't matter that if I do it, you got to do it, right? And I'll do it without complaining with you.
How do you find good people?
You don't, right? If they're there, they're there. And then you're going to create a system for them.
Wow.
Right? Because a person that fits in your system will already have his own systems in place on how he works, how she works.
How do you see it? Like, this is one of the biggest challenges when they call it the Great Resignation. You know, people say, "Oh, COVID changed the world." I don't believe that. I think that people lowered their standards.
Yeah.
Right. And so they're like, "Oh, well, young people have changed. They don't want to work." No. They will work when you hold them accountable to that. Like when I have my son, which I'm probably not the greatest at, but you know, when I have my son and I'm like, you know what, just take a day and just chill.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's his whole life.
Yeah.
But when I do that, he's going to chill. But when I say, son, get up, come with me out in the garage, we got to do some work. At first he's like, Dad, are you kidding me? But then when I stay on it, the kid is in and he's organizing, he's taking pride in it, all those things. Yeah. I just believe that it's holding them to the standard. And a lot of times what I found is people are just afraid to hold the people to the standard.
Well, I think that's the problem with success, right? And a lot of people fear success because they're afraid to be held accountable and be held to a higher standard. And they're afraid of the consistency that it takes to be successful. And so a lot of people rather fail. You know what I mean?
You mean a person would choose
to fail, right? Or stay mediocre.
Yeah.
Because when you take another level, it's another level, right? I preach this to Scotty daily, right? It's like the more responsibility you get, the more privileges you have, the more responsibility you have, right? The more privileges you have, the more responsibility you have.
But how do you take that and transfer the grit? This is the $1 billion question.
Yeah.
Scotty isn't getting his backpack full on a GT Performer across town. How do you take and put the type of grit that a Joe has and you transfer it on to the next generation?
Well, you have to create those hardships, right? I think that's the hardest part about.
What's the hardest ship that you've created lately for him?
It's him understanding that it's okay to fail, right? That's why you put him in sports, right? Because if you don't, right, it's going to take the kid to punch him in the mouth before he realizes that he has to be humble, right? And be like, oh, okay. Because you can't talk to everybody how you want to talk to them. You can't, it just doesn't work like that, right? So it's like I tell him that all the time. I was like, one day you're going to get popped in the mouth, right? It may not be by me, but somebody's going to do it if you keep talking the way you do, right? So it's like he doesn't talk to anybody rude, but it's like when people don't have hardships, it takes a lot for them to create those, right? You got to create those hardships, right? It's like he's not going to never feel what a food stamp feels like. You know what I mean? He never is going to feel what a welfare line feels like if it's up to me, right? But he will know that he has to work because at a certain age, he's going to start working.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be 15, 16. It's going to be 11, 12, 13. He's going to start working with me, right? And understanding what he has to do. It's like right now he gets allowance, but it's not for doing stuff at home. It's for school because that's his job. Like, you're supposed to keep the house clean, bro. You live here. You know what I mean? You're supposed to do your dishes. You use them.
Yeah.
I'm not paying you for that. You know, school, that's your job. That's where you got to be focused. That's where you got to put your best into. And it takes a lot of, you say, grit, right? To get through the day and not mess up, not be a talker, especially at 7 years old.
How did you choose how much the allowance was going to be?
So we've done it 2 different ways, right? So I've done a compound allowance with him, where it starts at 50 cents, and then it ends at like a $10.
That's a hell of a compound.
Yeah. So
I want in.
Starts at $50.
Can
50
I invest?
cents.
Can I invest the 50 cents and get the $10?
So it's like, but if he messes up and he skips the thing, it goes back down. So he understands how, like, he has to stay consistent.
How does it compound? Break
so
this
it's
down.
50 cents.
Got it.
50 cents turns into $1. $1 turns into $2. $2 turns into $4.
If you
$4
do what?
turns into $8.
If you do what?
So daily. So it's like 50 cents. The next day it's $1. The next day it's $2. The next day it's $4. The next day it's $5. The next day it's $10.
Wow.
Right?
And that's the end of the week.
And that's the end of the week.
That's some gangster stuff.
But like if he messes up, it just starts over.
Have you ever been like, you messed up, but you still get the $2?
Of course.
How many times?
Of course, a lot. I'm a sucker. You know, Cheryl's the beast. Cheryl's the beast.
That's what I was getting at, man. Hey, do you guys have a dog?
Yeah.
Okay, don't get 2. You have 2 dogs?
We have 1.
Yeah, don't get 2.
Yeah, I won't.
I just got
and he's expensive. Dog. He's like a money shack.
Yeah. So what's it with the cuisine that the dogs get now? What kind of dog?
He's better than I do.
Did you get a test tube dog?
Standard poodle.
You did. You got a standard poodle? Does it have an English accent?
Bro, it should.
It looks
as much as it costs.
Royal.
Like,
do you get it cut? Like, do you have the fro on it and
no,
the little balls on the tail and everything?
No.
Are you sure?
No,
Can we fact check this, Joe?
You can.
We can.
Yeah.
You keep it scruffy?
No.
No, Cheryl keeps it clean.
Yeah. If it was up to me, I'm so cheap. I try to cut his hair myself.
Oh, dude, that's a dad thing right there.
And Cheryl goes,
no.
"Oh, geez." She came home. I was like, I'll surprise you. You know.
How long did it take you?
Oh, like almost 2 hours,
dude.
Because I didn't want to cut him.
Yeah, and they don't. They move.
You know, he didn't move though.
Really?
He didn't move. He stayed there.
He's
real calm. And
what kind of food is he eating? Is he eating that stuff out the fridge?
Oh yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Like the real food.
Like
it's like a bag.
His food comes in the mail. Yeah, Cheryl.
I'm so glad that my dad is not.
Yeah, Cheryl.
My dad is in heaven right now, but my dad is yelling at you right now, Joe.
Not me.
Feed the
Yelling
dog some
Cheryl.
Purina. That's what my dad.
No,
But I'm doing the same thing. We're buying this designer food.
Yeah.
I went in and I listened to a conversation at the pet feed store. I thought I was on Saturday Night Live. Lady was like, "I've been giving my dog salmon."
Yeah.
But his stomach is upset, and she's like, "Oh, salmon! You should definitely go on a diet of goat and lamb." And I was like, "Are you joking? Is this the conversation we're having right now?" And I said it to the ladies, and I said it was like Saturday Night Live, and they both looked at me and they just scoffed and just moved on.
Well, it's like yesterday, I saw a lady walking with her dog, and the dog had shoes, right? And I'm like.
PETA is not going to sponsor the podcast. Just want to let you know.
But you know, it's yeah. You know, and then the crazy thing is like sometimes me and Cheryl think different about pets.
Okay.
So it's like,
is she really easy on the pets and strong on the little man?
Yeah.
Or is she strong on the little man and easy on the pet? Which no.
Yeah. Strong on the little man, easy on the pet.
Dude, we have the same wife, dude.
Yeah. And it's like
and
I love the dog. So like I love the dog.
You love him, but you're strong on him.
For me, a dog is a dog, and that's what I had to deal with, right? It's like because of again how I was raised.
How were you raised?
To where like pets are pets.
Okay.
They're not family.
Yeah.
So I'm changing that because Scott doesn't see it like that, right?
Scott.
My son.
Oh, okay. I thought the dog's name was Scott. I was like,
no, his name is Blaze.
His name is Blaze.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Cheryl's family
named it?
Scott did.
Scott named Blaze.
Scott named it.
Okay,
Like Blaze and the Monster Machines.
Ah, got it. Okay.
Yeah. So like, Cheryl's family is totally different, right?
It's a member of the
family. They're in the Christmas card, right?
Now
I'm okay with that.
Okay, but I have a challenge with this because I have people that are dog owners that are like, my dog is like a child.
Yeah, no.
It's not.
No.
It poops on the floor. No child of mine has ever looked me in the eye while it was pooping on my floor.
So I'll tell you a funny story, though.
Do it.
Because, so Blaze was about like a year old. No, a little less than a year old. We had just got him. And he was like in the backyard and he pooped. And then all of a sudden Scotty runs in because he was like 2 at the time. And Scotty's like, I pooped with Blaze. And I was like, we're like, what? And we walk outside and like Scotty pooped in the backyard with Blaze. And I was like, oh, geez, he really did poop, you know, but he had a big old smile on his face.
Yeah.
You know, like,
I guess he did it.
and I was like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm glad you pooped outside and not inside though.
I'm saying, man, because
But-
people will tell me that. And then it's generally people without kids that say, oh, my cat or my dog is just like a person and it's like a baby.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, it's not.
No,
It's not
at all.
at all.
And again, this is where like because Cheryl doesn't think that, right? But it's like her baby because
Of course.
right? It's like her baby and the cat's like her baby. And me, I'm just like, well, I'm not spending $8,000 on if they need surgery,
That's what I'm saying.
right? So
Do you have a limit, like in your mind? Do
yeah,
you have a
but
limit
I have a
where
wife.
you're like,
So the
that's
limit
true.
means nothing.
Okay. But I'm saying it's just you and I. You know what I mean? No one's listening to
Yeah,
this.
my limit
you
is
know?
like $1,000.
$1,000.
Yeah,
Anything
like-
over 1,000.
But see again,
you're
right?
limping
It's
for the
like,
rest of your
yeah, but it's like when I see Scotty, it's like I know for sure that I'm not gonna have no control over that,
Yeah.
right? Because I know like Cheryl was just like get it done, and then she'll talk to me about it later.
Do you still go old school? Like, because how old's your dog now?
Almost 4.
Okay, so I mean, you're in the good kind
Yeah.
of gooder. That's a
Yeah,
word.
gooder. Yeah.
Stages. You're in the gooder
Public school,
stages.
public
Yeah,
school
exactly.
vocabulary. I got you. We meet in the middle, Cal.
How'd you know I didn't go to private, man? I could have went to private, dude. They use gooder too. It's a new thing. But did you rub the dog's face in pee?
Oh no,
You didn't? Man, I'm old school like
that don't
that.
work.
I still think it worked. I'm like, if somebody rubbed my face in pee that I just did on the carpet, and I had a pee goatee, I would be like, I don't know if I'm gonna do that again.
You know what's crazy is with Blaze, I can say that he's never peed inside the house.
What? You
Yeah.
have the perfect dog.
Like, cause like for the first like 4 months, we kept him in like this little area.
Okay, so
Right.
you were super disciplined.
Yeah,
Did you
and
have
he
it,
peed
like,
on the
Doing
mats.
burpees.
He peed on the mats, right? Lazy dog. He's a super lazy dog. But he peed on the mats, and then like he started going outside, and like he just never peed. The only time he pees in the house is like when he does something. I'm like, hey, heel. Like not anymore, but like
Okay.
I caught him on the counter. We left. I came back, and he's like just stunned. I'm like, he
Yeah.
peed on the counter, right? I'm like, ah, right. But it was
That's
my
tough.
fault because I barged in the
You
from the
barged
garage,
into your own house.
from the garage.
You barged into
Well,
your
not
own
on
house?
purpose, right? I was running late, so
Yeah,
I,
but
and I
it's
scared
your
him,
house.
and I scared him.
See, I think you got a little Cheryl in you right
Yeah,
now. You're making excuses for the dog peeing.
Like-
What part of the counter did it pee on?
Oh.
Was it the cutting board?
pretty much.
How do you get rid of it? Like, what'd you have to do? Did you bleach it?
I just wiped it,
Just wiped it. Just
and
with
then,
the
like,
regular
Cheryl
towel?
cleaned it.
Regular towel. She
Yeah.
go in with bleach.
No, I don't know what she did, but
Okay, she got the
She
pee
clean- yeah, she
got
does
the
that.
pee gone.
yeah, when the animals do that stuff, it's her department.
Okay,
I don't do none of that stuff.
and
That's
she's
the deal.
did,
I don't.
Did
pick
you
up
sign
poop.
it?
I
Did-
don't clean.
you don't pick up
kitty
poop?
litter. I don't clean the kitty litter.
what?
No,
Man, I need
No.
this training program.
no, I don't. Mm-mm.
Mm-mm.
If she like
Does
Scott will do it.
Does Scotty pick up poo?
No, sometimes.
Okay. What about the kitty litter? You got
He-
one of
he
the.
doesn't do that.
Do you have an automatic one?
You know what's funny is we got that,
The automatic.
but she didn't want to get in it. She was scared of it
okay.
because it made the noises and
Yeah,
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
so
you
she
just
didn't
have
get
to traditional scoop the
Yeah.
poop with the crumbs on top
Mhm.
of it,
Yeah,
looking like a crunchy coat from
Yep.
Dairy Queen.
Derek. The vision.
It'll never be the same. Everybody listening right now is going to be like, "Damn, I can
The
never
crystal.
eat that.
Yeah,
I can never eat that ice cream again." That was a good ice cream, though. What
not
was-
anymore.
Yeah. Well, Dairy Queen. We just lost our sponsor, Dairy Queen. But that's
Yeah.
what it was.
It was chocolate dip.
It was tough. Tell me about this. We were just talking. I'm the king of transitions, and bad ones at that. We were talking, and San Quentin had a special meaning to you that just happened, and this was awesome.
Yeah. So Folsom and San Quentin,
Yeah.
I just became their maintenance plumber company. So
Okay.
and
How'd you get the contract for that?
so this guy Brian that I know,
Uh-huh.
he worked inside the system and he does the mechanics for them.
Okay.
And when I was part of like these other companies I was with, like I used to talk to him about like wanting to come in and be the maintenance guy. And he gave me a call and he said, "Are you still interested in being the maintenance guy, go-to guy?" And he goes, "You would have to come in here and pitch us, but it's open if you can do it and if you can pass a background." I was like, sweet. So, because I knew that was going to go because I had already had to do it for the NASA Research Center for their maintenance team. So I know my background is good in that sense,
Yeah.
right? So,
Did you have to call up any of your buddies from back in the day and be like, "Hey, man, if they call
move.
you, just don't answer, man."
If this 916 number calls,
my brother was going to law school and he wanted to go on the JAG program.
yeah,
And he was worried about a couple of our friends from Lompoc, like, that were in there. Did you have any friends that you were like, I
No.
hope? Okay.
no, because again, my stuff was so long ago
Yeah.
that
All right.
it was like,
There was no social media, which was awesome. If it was social media back then, it would
It
have been
would've
bad.
sucked.
It would have been bad.
and there would be a lot of people in jail.
Yeah.
That, back in the day. Oh,
Because we would have done stupid stuff. Like,
Yeah.
we get mad at our kids now for, like, you're on your phone all the time. But could you imagine at that age, if we would have had that type of technology,
Yeah.
we would have been on it too.
well, see, here's the thing, right? Is again, transition, right?
Yeah.
Me and Cheryl talk about that, right? Because I tell her it's like us standing in front of like playing Super Mario Brothers and trying to pass a level for 3 hours, 4 hours. What's the difference?
Unlimited men.
Like,
Yeah. Hitting
know?
the turtle against the,
Yeah.
the step.
I'd be like, oh, I'm going to get it. I'm going to make that jump. I can't make that jump, right? It's like you were there for 3 hours. Nobody said anything to you because it was a bigger TV and it wasn't personal, right? It's like,
It was that big cabinet.
yeah, you would go to your friend's house and play Sega Genesis and
If they were rich.
right,
Yeah.
you know,
If they were rich.
Yeah,
Sega
yeah.
Genesis was that night. The Sega Genesis was like the Bentley.
and you're like,
of
Mortal
what I mean?
Kombat.
Oh, good Lord.
You know, we used to go to the card shop at the liquor store, play Mortal Kombat, and it's for hours.
Yeah.
You know, especially when I learned that trick with the quarter and the string, I'd be there for hours.
Okay. So with a quarter in the string, let's go right to Folsom and
Yeah.
San Quentin.
Transition. So, anyway, so like becoming the maintenance guy for them.
Yeah.
It was I had posted. I was telling you about this earlier. I had posted this thing that me and my dad had both been to these prisons, but for different reasons. Right. So like he went and didn't leave. I get to go and go home every time I go. Right. It's like it never fails. Right. I know when I go there, I'm gonna do my job. They're gonna pay me to get there,
Wow.
and I'm gonna leave. Right. And
What kind of perspective does it give you? We were talking about this before we started
Mm-hmm.
recording, and getting to go, which when I said it in Colorado Springs, you knew exactly what I was talking
Yeah.
about. You said, the Supermax where El Chapo was,
Yeah.
or is now.
it is.
And getting a chance, I got a chance to go and speak to the staff, but my friend, Kristen Foster Griffey, Griffey Foster, shout out to you because you're the reason why I got a chance to go. But I told her, she said, can you come and speak to my staff about the vibe? I said 100%
Yeah.
on one condition. She's like, what is that? I said, I want to speak to the inmates. The perspective that I had when I walked out of that place was like nothing. What kind of perspective does it give you when you go in, you do work, and then you come out and you're seeing what is there?
Just again knowing that like that could have been me, and then not knowing how many people I know that are in there, right, from where I grew up. that's another big perspective for me, right? It's like, because I know people I know that have life in prison 35 years, 40 years, right? It's like they're never getting out. And they're the same kind of people. Like that right there shows me, like, somewhere along the line, and again, like we were saying in the beginning, is I don't know where I went right instead of left. I don't know where that transition from my life went, right? Because sometimes, like, even like when was in college and stuff like that, and I was like at a club and I was dancing, you know, I wanted to crip walk, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right, would want to like throw signs in the air, right? But then I'm like, that's not me. But I would do it because I'm from LA, right? I'm from Cali, and like you think that that's the vibe that everybody wants to run. Like you want to go hyphy, or you want, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's like knowing that I get to go home and eat good food and live with my wife and play with my son every day. That's a freedom I don't want to lose. So when I think of that, and I think of the things I do daily, it's like every time I introduce myself, I know I'm introducing my family, right? When I speak to somebody, I know that everybody I meet has a perspective. I mean, has an opportunity to meet my family. So I have to figure out, what do I want from this person, right?
Yeah.
What kind of a friendship?
Yeah.
Because you have a chance to meet my son. Would I want you around my son? Would I want your energy around my son? Right? Because it's not about me anymore. It's bigger than me. And that's what I mean when I say, like, I know there's a bigger purpose out there for me, right? And that is my bigger purpose.
So when you're going, like when a person is doing business with you, you offer a service that is offered in this world, right? It's not like you're the only person doing it. What's the difference that a person gets when they do business with you as opposed to doing business with somebody else?
Me. It's just me, right? It's like I'm genuine with what I say. I do what I say I'm going to do. And then I focus on helping you, right, and getting it done, because the money's going to come. Like that's obvious. But it's like, if that's what I focus on, then the service will never come, right? And me being in business with you will never come. It's like you're going to see the relationship be all about money. And it's like, it's just fake.
What's the little details that you find that, I was just talking with a lady the other day, yesterday about it. And I was talking about is most of the time, the things that differentiate you aren't the things that are expensive. You don't have to spend much money, if any at all.
Yeah.
It's the minor little details of, say, like, for instance, I have a woman named Nancy that comes in, and every single time that Nancy comes in, she wants to make sure that her purse is accounted for in every place she goes.
Yeah.
So
Her purse is accounted for?
Accounted for. Like, she has to see it.
But see,
and it has to be covered.
What I just did, right? It's like mirror you.
Yeah.
The conversation. Understanding that I can mirror her. Right? And understand what she wants. Understand what they want. And if you can say that back to people, they know that you're listening and you're engaged in the conversation and very focused on helping them and not the purpose. Right? Because if you're not present, you won't be present.
How can a person foster that presence? Because it's not like, I mean, you said it early on that you were sometimes blinded by anger, right? How can you shift that, which is you're focused on your anger, then you were able to take that and you focus on something great. How can a person foster focus?
Like I'm teaching Scotty right now, right? It's like, what good comes out of anger? None. You know, controlling your emotion, a lot comes out of that. You can see a big perspective.
Yeah.
And you can see how people really react, and watching other people get angry by you being calm. I get a kick out of that. You know, that's like when Cheryl hates it because I can operate well in chaos. And I think that's, again, from how I grew up. I can see somebody literally like get murdered, right? And it doesn't bother me. And that's something I had to grow into, understanding my emotion, and because I don't want Scotty to not have no emotion.
Mm-hmm.
But that helps me a lot with how I determine, like when I walk into a boardroom and, there's 50, 60, 70-year-old white men looking at me like, do I feel like the center of attention? I hope so. But how do I deflect that, right? And make sure that I'm the center of attention in a positive way, right? Because they're going to ask me questions that I may not know the answer to. So how do I do that? I study, I learn, I read, I engage myself, right? And I'm in the moment. But that helps a lot with just trying to figure out, I can't get mad at the situation. Like if I'm wrong, why am I wrong? And I look at it, right? It's like knowing I can't react all the time. I got to sit back and then talk, figure it out, right? It's like I look at then why don't I just do this? Instead of going, well, I don't know. When me and Cheryl argue, it's never an argument because all right, well, let's try it this way. And she hates it, right? Because let's try it your way. I'm not going to fight you over it.
Yeah.
If that's what you want, right? It's like, because there's no winner if we're on the same team. So, and then that comes a lot with getting people on the customer base that you want, right? It's like, I'm not fighting against you.
Uh-huh.
What do you want to do?
Is most of your business B2B or is it B2C?
It's a big both.
It's both. Okay. So in the B2C, the business to client, what do you wish that like your client understood about your craft that would make your craft so much easier for you to perform?
That I've studied and I've put a lot of time and effort into learning my craft, and I'm not the cheapest, but you're going to get what you paid for. Yeah. And I think that's the biggest thing for me is.
What's the biggest misstep, like that a common person that doesn't understand on the plumbing side that we don't understand, and we're just like, because you always have those armchair quarterbacks that will have you come in and be like, oh, well, if you just turn this and do that and do this, everything will be fine. What do you wish that those people would know, just, again, to make your job a little easier?
Again, it's that kind of stuff that a client doesn't start with the client. It starts with when you knock on the door and how you present yourself, right? So it's like if the client respects you, feels a good vibe from you, your energy's good, and you're taking control of the service call, that won't happen, right? It's like when you so what's the issue, right? Instead of what's going on, right? How can I help you, right? It's like, I don't need you to help me. Right? If you're not telling him to go relax or her to go relax, if you're not telling her, well, watch what I do, watch how I diagnose this, right? Giving her that confidence that you know what you're doing, they're not going to say that to you. Like a customer won't say, this is what's going on if you can't see it already, right? It's like, because you're supposed to know that. Yeah. Right? And then understanding how to put those solutions in order, right? Because it's like if that happens because they've either been screwed over or they think it's going to be expensive. Those are the two reasons why they really do those. The two things, right? They don't want to get screwed over and they don't want to spend a lot of money. So it's like, if you knock those two things out right away when you get there, a lot of customers won't even do that to you.
What about the B2B side of it? What's the difference that you find in business from dealing with, from your business to a client and your business to a business?
So I think that a lot of it is, what do they need to keep their business running? And are they willing to pay for it for their customers? If they're willing to pay for it for their customers, then you got to give them what they need. Okay. Right? And then they'll be able to control the overall outcome of the call for you, right? Because a lot of times, like you just asked business to client, right? You want that person with business to business. This is what's going on.
Wow.
This is what you need to do.
Yeah.
Right? Because they're in control, and this is what they need done, and they're going to tell you how to run the call from there. You know, it's the total opposite when you go to business. Because if you're running a hair salon, right, and you go, I need this sink working. Well, why do you need the sink working? Well, it's because this is where I wash the hair. Great. So when you wash the hair, okay, so now it goes into the drain. Now the drain goes into the sewer. Okay, so you need all this to work for that chair to work.
Yeah.
Right? So that's what you need to, the business is focused on getting this chair to work, to wash the hair, because that's where the money comes from. So I got to do everything I can to get that chair to work. In a house, I just want it to go down. Right? It's like, because that's it. They think it's super simple.
Yeah.
Like that. So you can go the whole opposite way to how you build a call up and the options you give and the solutions you give. But the store owner, the salon owner, they just want the chair to work. So it's like they need it to work today.
How have you been careful with relationship? Because in the whatever business you go into, the type of relationships that you've made throughout your life puts you in a different plane. We talked about fraternity earlier, not just fraternity in the traditional sense, but even in the NFL, it's a fraternity
brotherhood.
and a brotherhood. But you have to be careful, or in my experience, you have to be careful with relationships and not call on them almost crying wolf. How did you learn that? Did you learn it from making a mistake and going to that well too quick? Because the reason why I say it is because friends that I have a lot of friends that I'm very protective of, because I know that most people are wanting something from them. And being in the type of fraternities and circles that you run in, you have a lot of people in your life that literally either want some from them or they know you as a conduit to be able to get to this place. How do you filter those things, and how do you know when to call on someone when you're in need?
Well, I think the bigger question is understanding that, like, how can I help you, not them, right? Because if I know I can't help you and you don't want me, then I know that you just want them, right? Because it's like, and also knowing that, like, I don't go to anybody for a lot of help. So I can do it on my own. So let's find out a way you can do it on your own. If you really, I had this conversation with a buddy of mine recently, right? Because he wanted an investor. And it's like, well, let's try to find the ways to get you that, because I don't want to lend you money.
Yeah.
I don't want to give you the money. So let's find a way that you can get the money to where we can do it. And then I can help you with the build out and stuff like that. But I don't want to give you any money, because I don't want to ruin the relationship. Yeah. Right? Because that's what's going to happen. And
did you learn that from experience, or did you learn that from just watching, like your own personal experience, or did you learn it by watching somebody go into business with, say, a friend or whatever it was, and money get involved, and then that changed the whole relationship?
All three of those.
Really?
Yeah. I've been burnt. I've been taken advantage of. And it's like, and I've seen people do it. And then just like knowing that it's hard for me to trust anyways.
Okay.
So it's like, if realizing and talking to mentors and things like that, right? It's, you learn a lot about a person by what they say they need.
Yeah.
And what they do to get it. Right?
Tell me more.
So it's like, if you come to me for a loan, why don't you go to a bank? Because a bank will help you grow for more money, more than I would. Right? So if you can't get a loan from the bank, that's a problem. Right? If you come to me for that. So either you don't have a business plan, you're not really going into it for a business. You don't have the credit, which means you got to start from the bottom, which you should, and grind and build yourself back up. And it's like, now that you're saying that's all our friendship is worth, right? 50,000, 10,000, doesn't matter what the amount is. if you want to borrow money from me, you're saying that's all my friendship is worth. So it's like it detaches me from people.
Okay.
Right? When I loan money.
Yeah.
Because it's like that just means that you thought more about yourself than what we're worth. Instead of asking me how do we get this? How do I get this? Asking me to invest in you, it's no different from you asking me to borrow money. If you're asking me to invest, right?
Yeah.
It's like how I think of things. And that's my perspective when I say that, right? It's like I just think of things different. It's like because you can go to an investment firm where you don't have to put our friendship in jeopardy if your business is really doing what it's supposed to be doing. You go to a capitalist, right? A venture capitalist company, right? If your company is really doing what you're saying it's going to do, and there's no reason to come to me.
Is there any time where a friend would come and you would say, oh, wow, you got this ducks in a row. We've done this. Have you had that happen too, where it's been on the positive side?
Well, with plumbing, right? But again, it never works out. So it's like, and you either lose the friendship,
or you lose the money,
or you lose the money,
and you lose the friendship. Then
and you lose the friendship.
That's
anyways,
a tough one. That's a tough one.
It never works out. They say like the worst relationship is a partnership, right? The worst ship is a partnership. It's like that's just they never work. And then the thing is because one either brings the money and the other brings the work ethic.
Yeah.
So one is always in a battle, right?
Okay.
Feeling that they have more power.
So do you think it's that each one of them should come with equal money and equal sweat inside of it? Okay, that makes sense.
But they just do great things different.
Yeah.
Right? And so this is one of the things that we were talking about when you said about what do you look for in people, right?
Yeah.
And how do you find great people is I look for the 3 best things they do and it's maximize on those 3 things, right? Because if you do more than those 3 things or even 2 things, you're going to be all over the place and you're not going to be perfecting your craft, right? So, and I learned that from football, right? It's like you run great routes, run a great route, catch the ball. You're not a runner after the ball. You're not yak, bro. You don't do yak, right? You don't get yards after the catch. That's not what you do. You catch the ball, get it first, go out of bounds. I don't want to fumble, right? It's the same thing in business. It's like if they market really well, if they interact really well, if they talk to the team really well, because there's guys who ain't in high management, right? But get the team involved and they can bring the team together and they can talk, they get all the information from the team and what they really want and why they're not working hard.
Yeah.
They don't have to be top management to do that. People just follow them, right? If you can understand that, how do you honor that craft that they have, right? And turn that into a success for your company. Because I think that's what a lot of people miss is that everybody wants a title.
Yeah.
Titles don't mean anything. You just burn faster, right? You just fall faster. And it's like the more and more you learn, like success is like, it's about how many people you can help by what you learn.
Yeah.
It's like the better you are, I think. For me, it's like my success has come from helping people grow.
Wow.
And I don't mean financially at all. I mean actually spending time with them. My phone is always on, and I'm always honored to take a phone call and help people through their problems. Cheryl hates that, right? But she loves it.
Yeah.
Because my phone is always open. Like I don't even have to know you, right? You can call and talk to me about your problems because it's like I feel it's so important for people to have people to talk to.
Yeah.
Because, and that's what I tell Scotty, right? It's like, you got to love everybody at school because some people don't go home to it. And it's hard, But it's like I didn't grow up with a lot of love and a lot of support. And so I give it.
Yeah.
And I cherish that about people, right, who trust me to tell me about their problems, their issues, their families, their lives. That's an honor. And I feel that that's more important than money, right, to be able to take that phone call, right? I met a person at the gas station, right? And Cheryl still, and I talked to him and he didn't even know me, right? And I exchanged numbers with him. I talked to him and he was thinking about committing suicide, right? And he thanked me on Christmas Day. You know, I met him in October. He thanked me on Christmas Day about 2 years ago.
Wow.
You know, and I make, you know, when I walk down the aisles at the store with Scotty, right, I'm always like, hey, hi, who, you know, and he sees me do that. And he's like, you know him, Daddy? You know, no, I don't, but I'm saying hi to everybody, right? Because I think it's so empowering.
Yeah.
And it's to notice people and understand that, like, especially as older people get, right, they think they're not noticed, right? So I go out of my way to do that stuff because I think it's super, super, super important, you know. And that was one of the best things that, like, when I walked in here, right, 12 years ago, right, and your energy, the vibe that was here, everybody was like just energy, right? And we just clicked. And it's like, till this day, who would have thought that day would turn into this friendship, this brotherhood, right? It's like, those are the things that I cherish and understand. It's like watching you grow, watching myself grow, watching my family grow, your family grow, right? It's like, whew, God showing off.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what I always write. And that's one of the things I believe, right? It's like, when God shows off, he'll let you know, right? And you're not going to miss. If you trust in what he wants to do and what you need to get done, he's not going to miss. You know, life is crazy, man.
So in the midst of all that chaos, stuff like that, I mean, I thought one of the coolest things, and I said to you before we started, I was like, did you send me a bio? You said, yes, it's just a short bio, and it was very simple. And at the end, it just said, soldier of God. Yeah. Like, you know, what does that mean to you? And I think I was talking with my buddy, James Dixon, right, this morning, right before I was bragging about you. I was talking about you guys have to meet. And he was saying there's power in a name. Yeah. And when you said soldier of God, you weren't saying soldier of the universe. You weren't saying soldier of a higher power. You weren't saying any of those things. You were saying that.
Yeah.
How powerful is it when you put a name to it?
I think you understand that purpose, right? I think my purpose is that. And to keep being a soldier, right? It's like, I tell you all the time when I talk to you, it's like, keep changing lives. Keep doing what you're doing, right? It's like, because you can see the energy, right, that people give you. You can feel it. And knowing that my plan is A to B, but God's plan for me is A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, right? And then back to B. It's like,
how do you not, like, this was a big thing for me this morning. We're actually going to do an episode later on today. I do one called Inch Stones, which Inch Stones is the, corresponding proverb, corresponding day. And Proverbs 26 today was all about the okie doke. Yeah. And what a guy was saying to me is like, don't fall for the okie doke. You know, he calls us to be faithful, but we've got to be careful of who we have faith in. And that was a really strong thing that he hit me with today. He was like, if you're doubting, then what do you actually have faith in? And if you fall for the okie doke, and then he went down and he listed all the things that are a part of the okie doke. And if you know those things, you see those things ever happen, you know it's the fake one and it's not the real one. How do you know, like in you and Joe, how do you know when it's real?
I think for that is my conversations I have, right, with God. And
you do them out loud?
Absolutely.
Does he have like Morgan Freeman voice to you?
No.
What kind of voice?
He has that voice that like just goes, you need to get it together, bro.
I love when we have these kind of conversations because, and I get to have a conversation with someone like this because, like sometimes people think that God is like there's hymns going
in a light,
a light. But how's he?
No, and to be honest, it's usually on the toilet.
Really?
Like that's when I do a lot of my soul searching and thinking. My wife wonders why I'm taking that long. It's usually it's like when I'm putting my life together, right?
Yeah.
That's my soul where nothing is there.
No phone?
No phone.
No
Just
phone.
me.
Just you and God.
Just me, yeah. And then God just talks to me, right? And
What's the last thing he said to you?
Well, this morning I had a big meeting, right, before I got here.
Okay.
And he said, "You ready?" And I got that's when I got the Navy contract, right, was this morning.
You got it this morning before you came here?
I had a meeting at 6:30.
Do you believe that it was because you were going to be on the podcast that contributed to that?
I hope so.
Would you say?
It's all energy. It's all energy.
That's what we can do for you, ladies and gentlemen. If you want the deal to happen, you come on. And De La Soul, if you're listening out there, the deal will happen when you come on the podcast.
Yeah.
Maxwell, the deal will happen when you come on the podcast. Just want to let you know.
It's all.
So you just got the contract right before you,
Yeah.
bang, and God told you you're ready?
Yeah.
What did he say?
Yeah, you're ready.
You're ready.
Yeah.
Did you get chills when he said it?
All the time.
Was it loud?
In the car.
Was
I was
it
in
loud?
the car sitting outside the base.
Yes. Were you talking to yourself?
I went over my presentation like
I love it.
maybe like 6 or 7 times.
I love it
right?
because when people walk by and you don't know if they're seeing you, you don't know that there could have been, but you could be talking and having this conversation with God and you're talking in the car and a person walk by and be like, "Damn, Joe's crazy."
Yeah, he's on Bluetooth.
Yeah.
I have him on. I've got on Bluetooth. You know, it's. I think that's the thing that people miss the most, right? Is knowing it's okay to talk to him. He's listening all the time, right?
Yeah.
But again, being present when you talk to him, and you don't have to go anywhere. You just sit right there and talk to him, you know, and I think that's a lot to do with my own like how I want to raise Scott, right? And believing and knowing that he is here.
Yeah.
Knowing that it's okay to have faith and believe in yourself and again, like we talked about before, making sure that Scott keeps his curiosity.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's I think that's going to be one of his biggest hardships as a kid in technology and having technology, right? Is being able to be curious without being dangerous, you know, and you can't do that without faith.
What is he stretching your faith on right now?
Just
like, what's a thing specifically in your life, Joe, that I think we go from hope, right? Mm-hmm. So someone fosters hope in us, gives us a little bit of inkling of hope. Mm-hmm. And then when we work that muscle of hope, it gets to the holy grail, which is faith. Because it's the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen.
Yeah.
But there's times, and I'd like to say that I never went to this place, but there's times when I'm like, I hope this happens. And I'm like, yes, I kind of have faith in it, but I'm still in the hope stage of it. Is there a place where he's given you something that you say like, yeah, that sounds good, but now he's stretching your faith in it because it's maybe a little bit larger than what you've seen before?
Well, just my business in a whole right now. It's running a plumbing company unconventionally, right? Like, it's not your normal way of people doing it. Being involved with the Navy, doing those things for the Navy, taking a step back and understanding that this one contract can change my whole outcome of how I want to run my business, you know?
And it was all because of 95% because of the appearance on the podcast. Yes.
In San Diego.
So if
Carlsbad.
Yes, if you want to change your business, you want to change your life, the generational impact of being on the show.
It's the vibe. It's the vibe.
De La, are you listening? Maxwell?
68, 88, Embarcadero.
Yes.
Changes lives, everybody.
Well, you know why I started the podcast, but I'm going to add Scotty into this because I started the podcast because of Maddox and McKenna.
Yeah.
It's morphed though as we've gone along, because now we have that show, which is like this, where I interview some of the most iconic people in the world. They all give advice to my kids by name.
Yeah.
Also do Inch Stones, which is 15, 20 minutes. You could take me on your walk, do a commentary on Proverbs, and we take you through 3,000-year-old wisdom. I did one the other day. You're going to love it. It was on foolproof marketing. I don't know if you got a chance to listen to it, but it was a New York Times article about Zuckerberg, Bezos, and Musk.
Yeah.
And they gave the foolproof marketing plan for their companies. And I tell you, like, it was unreal, like reading the article. But I took them through it, and then I got to the end, and I said that wasn't Zuckerberg, Bezos, and Musk.
Yeah.
It was actually Proverbs, and it was written 3,000 years ago, but you wouldn't listen to it if I said it was Bible.
Well, see, here's the cool thing, right? And I tell everybody this.
Yeah.
To touch on that, it's like, that's one of the best business books that you can read is the Bible. If you read through it and you understand it, what it means to you, and then how it can help you in business, every book that has been written business-wise came out of that book. Yeah.
Give me that one right there.
Yeah. And it's super, super cool to understand that.
Yeah.
That has all been under my nose the whole time.
Isn't it crazy?
Yeah.
Because I actually presented that, what I've just told you. I presented that at Secret Knock. It's the #1 networking conference in the world that you can't go to unless you're invited.
Yeah.
And it's a conference that I co-host with my partner, Greg Reed. And I got up and I went through the 13 points of foolproof marketing from Zuckerberg, Bezos, and Musk. And then when I got to the end, I let them know that it was Proverbs.
Yeah.
And it was funny because you just had the people writing. You had the people zeroed in, locked in, like it was. And then when you hit them with it, it was like, we've had exposure to this, right? Yeah. So we do that show. And then we actually did a show. I don't know if you know about it, but we started doing one called You Have to Meet My Friends, where I go live and then I call my friends randomly and they don't know they're on the podcast till they're on the podcast.
Yeah. That's dope.
So I want to add Scotty into this because I have every single person come on and give advice to Maddox and McKenna by name.
Yeah.
But I want you to add Scotty into that too. So what advice would you have for Maddox, McKenna, and Scotty? And if you could use all of their names and look into that camera over there, it would be awesome.
Well, again, McKenna, Maddox, coming from Uncle Joe, you and Scotty, keep using your curiosity and keep being persistent in your overall determination to be curious and getting your point across. Don't give up on that. You know, I think that's one of the biggest things that we do, in knowing that, like with Scotty, and just that you just keep knowing that you're loved, you know, and Maddox and McKenna the same way, right? It's like the more and more you empower people around you, the more powerful you'll get. And, you know, because people are going to start understanding what you know. So I think that's the biggest thing for me.
I guess the last question that I would have for you, Joe, is do you really think that dog food in the fridge is that much better than the normal Purina we used to get at Kmart?
Negative. Negative. I would say that I can't stand the influencer that started that on Instagram. $130 a week.
That's no joke, man. That's an expensive dog, man.
Yeah. And he's like always needs to get clipped.
Yeah.
His ears need to get pulled. Hair needs to get out. I'm like, bro, be a dog.
Yeah.
What happened to the pit bull? You know, can eat anything without getting sick. Like, you know, I got a foreign stomach. I need, you know.
Yeah.
It's like, bro, you're okay.
That's
you know?
a tough one.
But I tell you, you know, it's, And we were saying about the brands, not to segue back into that, but I wanted to touch base on that. It's like, people ask me all the time why I wear Scotty on my clothes, right? And it's because that's the brand I love. Damn. Right? And that's, he won't appreciate when he gets older, but he will, right? As he gets older, he's gonna be like, why are you always wearing my face? but I have him like on certain pairs of socks, on shorts, like, but that's the brand I love and care about, right? So he's always mixed into some of my clothes. You know?
I think you're the cool thing too, Joe, is that you're the example. You're the example that people buy you. You know, being around you, I didn't know what you did when we first met.
Yeah.
But I wanted to get to know it. Once I got to know it, I was like, wow, this is fascinating. And then as you've morphed and as you've worked through and with the plumbing side and the company's changing and the contracts and all these things, for me, I just want to be a part. Like and you're the testament and the example of that people buy you and then they figure out what you do and they want to be a part of it too.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we'll make sure and have all the links for you with your company and things like that. And the cool thing is what I love about you and I watch, it's never you pounding down someone's throat about like, hey, come and see me on Tuesday. It's no, come and I want to contribute to you. I want to make your life better. I want to help you in any way that I can. And then if you find out what I do and it can fit and I can help you, that's cool. But if not, I still want to help you in every other area of your life. I tell you, I have never been so self-conscious of my belly while I've been on a podcast as when I'm with you, because man, I watch you, dude, and you are such an inspiration, not only as a businessman, as a husband, as a friend, as a father, just as a human being, man. It's unbelievable, man. You're incredible.
Such a blessing.
You're incredible, man.
So are you.
Will you come back on the podcast again?
Absolutely.
We'll probably get you another deal. Maybe we'll get the Army next time. We got the Navy, so we'll get the Air Force. We'll get
them all.
Do you got NASA right now?
No.
Okay.
No,
we'll get NASA too. We'll get SpaceX.
They actually started their own plumbing company.
Did they?
Sucks. Yeah.
They just don't know.
For NASA.
They just don't know.
So it's
don't know.
Yeah.
They got once they figure it out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And once we have another podcast, then we'll just get another branch of the military. It'll all work out.
What's the new one? What's the new one called?
Was it Space Force?
Space Force, yeah.
Space Force.
In Vegas, right?
Space Force Holler.
They're only in Vegas, right?
Are they?
I think they're only in Vegas, I think.
See, what we'll do is we'll film a podcast in Vegas.
See?
Maxwell.
In the Sphere.
Yes, Maxwell and De La Soul play at the same time. Who would open?
In the Sphere.
Who would open? Would you want De La to open? You want Maxwell to open?
Yeah, probably De La.
De La, got it.
And then close with Maxwell.
Yes. And I think we should have Erykah Badu.
Erykah and Music,
Show
Soul Child. Close it out. Yeah.
See, that's the concert that I want to do.
Yeah.
That's 50th birthday is coming. So 50th birthday, Maxwell.
Any big plans?
My wife keeps asking me.
Brooke, are you hearing this?
I know. I know. I want Max. I've always said that I wanted De La to play on my birthday. Yeah. I actually sponsored a concert for them in Vegas, and we had them play at a place called Insert Coins. One of my friends, DJ 88, amazing woman. She helped to facilitate that, and it was a dream of mine. It was awesome. Got to play PlayStation with them and the whole nine. It was unreal. But literally, like my 50th birthday, I'd like to have De La perform. But this won't be a surprise to some of my friends because I wanted to surprise my friends where I bring them all together. Yeah. And then, oh, by the way, bang, De La comes out. Yeah. Pow. Maxwell, I would love because Maxwell and I have the exact same birthday on the same day in the same year.
Same time?
Same time. I don't know if it's the same time. Maxwell, were you born at 1:11 in the afternoon? If you were, I mean, it was made in heaven. That's what it's supposed to be. So I don't know. I mean, hopefully that'll happen, but it'll come next May. Yeah. You guys got time to save up. May 23rd.
Oh, you just missed it.
What's that?
The Taurus train.
Oh, okay. When's yours?
May 12th.
May 12th. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's funny because when people ask me, they're like, "What sign are you?" I'll just say a random sign, and they'll be like, "I see it," and I'm like, "No, you don't," because I just told you the wrong one.
It's so funny because I talked. So like my dad's birthday was August 15th.
Okay.
Right. So I tell Cheryl, I go, "Oh yeah, I was my dad's birthday present, right?" And she's like, "What?" And I'm like, "If I was born in May, like my mom and dad went to dinner, and it's like that's how I'm here." I was a birthday gift. Because I count 9 months. I'm like, that's why I'm here, right? And she's like, "Oh, geez, Joe."
She doesn't want to think about that.
No. I was like,
puts a visual, just like that, just like the kitty litter. Yeah, that was a tough one. You ain't ever going to go to Dairy Queen again.
No.
Never. Crunchy coat at Dairy Queen.
No. Salt and straw, though. I'll go salt and straw, though.
Yeah, but it'll never be the same. The crunchy coat will never
Plug.
be the same. There we go. Man, it has been an absolute pleasure. And Joe, it's incredible. I look forward to it because I'm going to force you to be my friend for the rest of your life. As
Hope
you know.
so.
We'll have you on the podcast more so you could get more deals.
Yes.
But I do want to tell you that you're officially off the hot seat.
Nice.
Nothing more on my mind. I got to shine, so every day I grind. Work in the morning, work in the evening. We's achieving, cause we believing. It's for certain, we put the work